Australia has rapidly become one of the world's most diverse countries, celebrating different cultures through food, dance, and music. Although these cultures are embraced in society, the opportunities for Asian representation on screen is limited globally, playing the stereotypical geek,
What's happening, hot stuff?
doctor, migrant,
Dong has only been in our country a short time, Fred. I think we could all help him assimilate.
or martial artist. Until
Falling in love with the summer blockbuster Crazy Rich Asians.
Based on Kevin Kwan's 2013 novel, Crazy Rich Asians is already making waves for its groundbreaking level of representation. Hollywood has come under immense criticism in recent years for whitewashing Asian and Asian American roles.
Tom, how does it feel to be a white actor in Hollywood? He doesn't get asked that, you know what I mean? Because he gets to actually just talk about acting. It's a privilege that we are able to talk about it, but it also highlights the rarity. It's been 25 years since we've had an all-Asian westernized cast.
To all the boys I've loved before,
Yes.
coming of age, a sort of first love story.
I just want to say thank you for this movie. I am like a fan of rom-coms and teen rom-coms from a kid. Never had anybody that looked like me.
When you finally get to see yourself represented, you're so inspired and you realize, oh my God, I can do this.
with this breakout in Hollywood, where does this stand for the Australian film industry?
Would you be able to describe what the average Australian looks like to you?
They are tall, they are strong. Most of them are white people.
Laid back, relaxed.
Wet off.
I like Chinese people. Chinese people are very shy.
Too multicultural now to just say just one specific Australian.
I went to Newington College actually primary school in Liverpool. I grew up in Liverpool, and I did the school musicals and plays, and so I've always wanted to be in the arts, particularly theatre. I had a lot of vibes of people going, well, how would you go as an Asian actor in Australia? But I got cast in a show called GP. I remember going for the audition and they were going, no, we really want him to be very normal and Australian. But I was really shocked that then I had to put on an accent, and I kind of went back on their word, and I thought that was very odd. And the problem with actors is that you often don't have enough control or power. I do remember when I was an actor that my friend who was in a show, her mum was actually an extra in Neighbours, and I remember the early 90s, the storyline in Neighbours was that the Chinese family had moved into Ramsay Street and they were accused of eating the dog.
I hear our dog was in your yard last night.
Yes, she paid us a visit.
Poor Hannah. How am I supposed to tell her that her pet was barbecued? That sort of thing might be acceptable in your country, Mrs. Lim, but in Australia we consider it barbaric.
I was outraged, and in fact a lot of people were outraged, but Grundys thought it was not a problem, and I just thought no one really cared that was actually such a terrible cliche and stupid. But it became one of the big storylines in Neighbours.
These popular series that are Australian made, do you think they depict the realistic Australian society?
More so now than when I was growing up.
You definitely see like different attitudes and behaviors that are very unique to Australian culture, but apart from that, not so much.
I want an upswing by the end of play today, which means, translation, Kim?
나는 오늘 하루가 지나가기 전에.
Oh, not Korean translation, for shit's sake.
Why are we still stereotyping the Asian geek who's working in the business thing with the glasses and the big hair and going, and I did that in the 80s and the 90s as an actor. And one of the reasons I stopped acting and became a director was to have more control without apologising of how to tell a story and what it looks like. I think theatre is better than that. They're getting Asian actors. I do know that there's a lot more Asian actors who are doing it for a profession in theatre, and they're not necessarily Asian characters, so I do think we're a little bit ahead.
There's this thing called flow where you're so in the movement, your mind is so connected to your body and your spirit that it just flows, and when I'm doing acting, I feel that and I just go, that's what you want to live. Acting just puts that fire in my soul where if I'm getting paid or not for it, I want to do it. My name is Constance Khoo, so I was born in Ipoh, Malaysia, and I came over when I was just a baby. What made me want to become an actor was growing up in Australia, not seeing that on TV, not seeing that in theatre, and just thinking it wasn't a realistic goal. I just wanted to see that maybe I could be that person who, for the future generation, they can be like, hey, she kind of looks like me, or hey, like she's also Asian, like maybe I could do it too. But it's like the zeitgeist of the time. You feel that there's a movement, but you know you have to be one of the first people to push that. Otherwise, change won't happen. Acting is such a great way of representation. It's just simply making other people feel like they belong. I never felt like I belonged growing up watching TV. I never saw that. I never believed it was a reality. But realities can change. And I want to be able to be just part of that movement, just be one other model. I think negative experiences is almost when you walk in and you just know you don't even have the part. You walk in and you just, even though they say it's blind casting, you walk in and you can just see that they just look at you and then you look at the other people in the audition room and you just go, so why am I here? Like, I almost feel like you shouldn't have even let me audition. You're just doing it to look politically correct. But if you know that I can't actually be in this play, and then you go through, like you jump through the hoops and you get your hopes up and you learn all your lines, but you just know you just never had a chance. Acting, it's a muscle. You've got to keep practicing it. So you just go for even unpaid things just to keep that creativity going. There's a bigger story. I can't just complain. There's obviously government funding and there's all these aspects of the industry that we don't fully understand.
In 2018, I don't see myself on the screen. Why are the producers still not doing that? Why are the Chinese people or the Indian people playing doctors still? I don't think that's an exaggeration, unfortunately. And I think I can boldly say that partly because Australia's still racist. And I can also say that we're scared to think outside the box.
There's more to be done, not just for Asians, Australians, but for all different ethnicities and for disability casting and just having a true representation of cosmopolitanism of Australia, actually really being open to the idea of maybe it will be a multi-cast, and I'm not going to do it for tokenism, but I'm going to do it because they actually can work really well together and it can still honour the writing.
Working in the arts, if you're not practicing what you do, you can't get better and more skilled. So the problem, which I do agree, if then people who are non-white aren't getting those opportunities behind the camera, on stage, they can't get better. That's why it's a vicious circle in a way, because anyone will get better if they are told they're good, they're empowered, and they practice their craft. You know, I'd love to do a classic, I'd love to do a Shakespeare or an Ibsen, and not just because to be trendy, is to have a really fabulous multicultural cast, you know, not tokenistic, but because they're good. And I think until, and that's what we haven't talked about, until people who are non-white are put in roles that are not tokenistic and they just should be in it because they're bloody good, that imbalance will still be a problem.
Everyone has to work together, and I think everyone has to have a vision of, I say I want a more diverse screening of Australia, and actually work together and what it actually means to do it.